Greetings. Did you know that today was an awesome day? That's right. It's an awesome day, and it was an awesome Sunday. And, yes, just exactly right. Amazing grace that saved a wretch like you. Yeah, that's right. Saved a wretch like you. Well, those are just some thoughts that will bring us to a little reflection on the day, on the week before us, and on this week of awe. My name is Stan Houston. The program is just Stan in the Study on a Sunday, and we'll just start right now. Well, today all things continue as they are, and where they are going, nobody will know. Obviously, at least those of us in the United States were shocked to understand that all of a sudden the political world is in turmoil again. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a woman who was known for her strong activist work as a Supreme Court justice, and certainly for the rights of women in the workplace and throughout all society, after a long life and a very amazing life, and 4 incredibly awesome, and I mean that awesome in the sense of how she battled it, 4 awesome battles with cancer, finally succumbed to the worst of them all, that old pancreatic liver cancer took her out. And that happened, of all things, on the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah. And because of that, unlike many customs within the Jewish faith, that they would have the funeral or the service right afterwards, because obviously of the COVID situation and the Rosh Hashanah situation, my guess is that we will have her service, her memorial service. And I have a feeling, though, that it will not be one of those big affairs. It'll probably be more family and maybe even private, which is the way I think most of those things probably should be. But we will see. But what that did is that made an even more controversial and conflicted presidential election between President Donald Trump and Joe Biden, who is challenging him. It made it even more of a mess. That's the only way I can say it. I don't mean that it's negative, but it messes things up. It stirs things up. And that will be a major issue in the election going forward. What should we do? More and more, as our pastor reminded us in one of the services, and this is the wonderful thing about what is happening. I am able right now to enjoy 2 or 3 different services of different expression, and even pastors of varying viewpoints that I can plug in to Calvary St. George's Church in New York City. I can listen to our own church, go, if we want to, go online, or like today, we were grateful that in a limited way we could begin to have personal presence. And then later on this evening, I'm going to tune in to a music program of kind of a Sunday evening Vespers musical for the late night, maybe not too late, but early Sunday evening, which is just really good for me. I really enjoy it. And what we're learning is part of what the COVID thing has done is given many of us and many churches and many organizations through the Zoom process and the online process exactly what I've been talking about. That just as I sit here in my little study in a small home in Tucson, Arizona, just in the shadow of the mountains, and we were rescued from the fires, and we can speak to the world. And you know what? Wherever you are in your corner of the world, it truly is awesome what you might be able to do. As I've said this week, God has given you special wisdom, insight, faith, and truth. Swift. And I believe, and I really believe this, God is this week calling many of you to express yourselves and take the risk, make the investment, and start to share the special wisdom, insight, faith, and truth that God has given you. Just let that sit on your head tonight and maybe throughout this awesome week. Today is literally where I got the title as one of our wonderful pastors, and our church is kind of specializing in those of us who are what we call in our senior, or we prefer the term encore years. And it just so happens that the pastors are three, quote, retired pastors. Not really, but formally from any formal position. And they minister to us with their swift, their incredible special wisdom, insight, faith, and truth. And Paul Caseman was talking today about that wonderful story that is terribly confusing. Now, those of you who follow that lectionary work in the Bible, at least in your church, the story was the one about the guy who represents, maybe the God, even the kingdom of God. And he's got a vineyard, and he goes out and he hires a group of men to work in the vineyard at 6 o'clock, and they go and he arranges for fair pay. He goes out at 9 o'clock and he rounds up some more guys, and they go, and he still needs more help, so he goes out at noon and rounds up some guys, and they go. 3 o'clock, he goes and gets some more guys. Around 5 o'clock, he rounds up a few more guys. And the day is now done, and he pays them. Now, those of you who know the story know why did Jesus use such a story? Because what it turns out is that the guys who worked for an hour get paid the daily wage. And so everybody else down the line listens to that, and they say, oh my goodness, if the guys who only worked 1 hour got the daily wage, guess what I'll get? Because I worked much harder and much longer, and, I've been a much better worker. And, of course, those of you who know the thing is that they all got paid the same. Well, of course, that didn't make anybody happy, except maybe 2 or 3 of the groups who thought, oh my goodness, let's get out of here right now before he figures out whether that was a mistake, and they leave. But the other ones, they stay around and grumble and say, this isn't fair. This isn't fair. We worked all this time in the hot sun, and these guys showed up at the last minute, and they get the same pay. And the vineyard guy says, hey, we had a deal. I kept my deal. And if I want to be generous and give more to others, that's my business. How do we deal with that story? Well, most of us think that we're the kind of people, we were there at the beginning, We might not have made the 6 o'clock one, but we sure made the 9 o'clock one. And all those people in the 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock and the 5 o'clock, we've been good. We've been good Christians. We've been good people. We worked hard. We deserve more. We deserve what we deserve. Those good things we had, we earned them. And these other people, they didn't deserve that much, but they got it anyhow. Well, I think some of you know where that was leading. And then Paul Caseman, and he has a wonderful pastoral sense of humor. And he said, remember that song we love to sing? It goes, Amazing Grace, and it says, Amazing grace that saved a wretch like me. Now, a lot of us don't like that word, because if you look up the definition of wretch, it's, deplorable, despicable, abominable, just a wicked, bad, waste of a man or woman. Well, of course, the man who wrote that, said, that's what I was. John Newton, slave trader, drinker, a bad man was saved by grace, and it was amazing that he would be graced and saved a wretch like me. And Pastor Caseman said to us, next time you sing that song, try this. When we come to that song part, it says, amazing grace that saved a wretch, and he said, then point to your neighbor in the pew and say, and saved a wretch like you. That saved a wretch like you. And would we like to hear that we are thought of as wretched? Well, obviously the story is that God's grace is not fair. It's more than fair. And we want things to be fair. Now, as a longtime performance coach, I've now come to the conclusion of saying this because I've had to mediate a lot of this stuff. And I now have this line. I say, fair is not something we talk about after the 6th grade. That's right. After the 6th grade, we don't talk about fair because life isn't fair. We'll try and keep it mostly fair for the young children and try and make it as equitable as we can, but, after that, it's going to go in all kinds of ways. It won't be fair. And sometimes it won't be fair to me, and I'll think I'm the person that deserves fairness. And then I also all of a sudden realize that what I have is more than grace that I ever deserved. And compare that to somebody else who may be more meritorious than me, who has been given or supposedly blessed with less than me. You get it. You're smart. You don't need to have me dwell on that. But I thought it would be kind of just good to think about that because it brought a smile to my face. Remember, I was saying this week was kind of a funky week, but, that saved a wretch like you. And they point right back at me and say, and saved a wretch like you. And all of us remember that it truly is amazing. It's awesome. And did you know that this is the awesome week? Just give me a few more minutes and we'll finish on that. I very much join my friends in their tradition. Rosh Hashanah was this Friday, and of course that is the Jewish New Year. Now, in 10 days from Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish tradition has their highest holy day. Many of you know what that is. It's the day of Yom Kippur. And that is a day where you think about the year before you, and you ask forgiveness. And please forgive me for the past year, but now restore within me new grace and courage and power and energy so that I might be forgiven. And because of your grace, I will have a good year. I will be a better person, and that's why it'll be a better year. In between this time of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is called the Days of Awe. Well, I'll let you figure that out and do more work with it if you have never heard of that before. What does that mean, the Days of Awe? But here's something that I would like you to think about. Ask God to give you something awesome this week. He's going to call out your name. He would like to do something awesome in your life. And maybe you're going to use this week to give him permission to do just that. You're brave enough? Are you bold enough? You're not emotionally or spiritually lazy. You're ready for a challenge. You're ready to be brave. You're ready to do new and maybe power and glorious things you've never thought of before. You're ready for that. You're going to come out of COVID far better and far stronger than you ever were going into it. So I'm just going to simply suggest to you to join me as every day I am going to say, this is an awesome day, and I would appreciate, I would covet, I would plead for, I pray for, that you will do something awesome in my life, and then in my business, and then in my work, and of course, in the family that I love and cherish so much. And please do it. Please do it this week. I'm Stan. This has been just some stuff on a Sunday night. I wish you all the best, and of course, may this week be just that. Awesome. Bye for now.